My husband is the kindest person I have known. He is the epitome of selflessness and compassion. He always thinks of others before himself, and that is his best quality. On top of that, that is the reason why I fell in love with him. He became my rock, cornerstone, and anchor during the tough times of my life, and I was with him as well. In the first months of our dating phase, my husband, aka my former boyfriend, during that time was very vocal about his problems with his family. His dad passed away when he was young, making him forced to be an adult and be his family's breadwinner. His mother was ill while his younger brother was a headache. I got to know his family more because I helped them more often. I would take my husband's mother to the hospital and I would even shoulder the hospital bills. I admit that I'm not well off, but I'm willing to extend help for my husband's family. I was a primary witness to how hardworking my husband Stephen was. He dropped out of college just to provide for his family. Meanwhile, his brother is a complete jerk. He forced his brother to send him to a prestigious school that cost beyond their monthly income and budget. His brother Joe was a spoiled brat and their mother wanted him to be in that school. That is why my husband sacrificed his studies just to send his brother to that high-end university. I saw my husband cry every night. I saw him work hard from 4 in the morning. I witnessed how he single-handedly paid all the needed bills in their house, but his mother and brother were ungrateful. They even condemned Stephen for providing little and they would always insult him. There were times that I wanted to talk back to them just to defend my husband, but Stephen, with his kind and humble heart, told me not to. My heart breaks for him. I wanted to protect him from all the harshness of this world, especially from his own family. They were toxic and unhealthy for him, and he doesn't deserve to feel all of this. I could still remember that one night when we were still dating, he broke down in tears. He just went from an argument with his brother who insulted him so much. Even I was stunned to speak because I don't know what to say. I was taken aback by everything that Joe threw at Stephen. The scene was still vivid in my mind. My husband was sitting on the couch, his face etched with exhaustion and sadness. It was evident that he was tired from his 3 part-time jobs at the car wash, fast food restaurant, and convenience store. Meanwhile, Joe went home drunk, approached him with a fist and a malicious grin on his face. He gave off a mocking grin towards his brother.
Well, 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 look at you, Stephen. Can't even stand up for yourself, can you? What a pathetic excuse for a man.
Stephen remained silent, his eyes downcasted, struggling to hold back tears. He knew all too well that his brother will hurt him again. I was about to meddle, but Joe looked at me angrily.
Don't even step inside this argument, Annie, or I'll hurt your boyfriend.
He laughed mockingly.
It's no wonder Annie chosen you for a boyfriend. She couldn't do any better, could she? You're just a burden dragging her down.
Stephen clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white, but he remained silent, refusing to give Joe the satisfaction of a response.
What's the matter, Stephen? Cat got your tongue? Or are you finally realizing how worthless you truly are? I want to be in that school. And you will do everything to get me inside. I don't care if you'll go ill like our mother. Just don't die, okay? Don't die until you get me inside that school. Am I clear?
He stomped his feet and kicked Stephen's seat. Stephen's shoulders shuddered, his silent tears flowing freely now. He tried to maintain his composure, but Joe's hurtful words continued to chip away at his fragile emotional state. After that commotion, Joe walked away and even pushed a vase to the ground, breaking it into pieces, and as soon as he was out of the picture, I walked towards Stephen. My eyes filled with concern as I saw him sitting on his seat, crying so hard, his head buried in his hands. My love, I'm here. Do not worry, I will never leave you. Stephen looked up at me, tears staining his face, and he struggled to speak.
I don't understand him. He has always said such terrible things, Annie. I couldn't defend myself. It hurts.
My eyes flashed with anger and empathy. I wanted to hurt Joe to defend Stephen, but I just couldn't. I'm so useless. I talked to Stephen, and my voice filled with determination. Stephen, you are not what he says. You are strong, kind, and deserving of love and respect. I won't let his words define you. We will face this together. I held his hands tightly. Stephen found solace in my words, his tears gradually subsiding as he realizes he is not alone in this battle against Joe's cruelty. It even became worse when Joe had a car accident and he was the suspect of the crime. He recklessly drove his friend's car while he was drunk, and what's worse is that he did it on purpose. He banged on another car and even tried to walk away with it. But the police officer nearby was able to track him down and send him to jail. His offense was the worst thing. He has violation for driving without license, drunk driving, stealing the car, and for intentionally crashing the other car. We have to bail him out of prison because he was starting to get hysterical. When we visited him, he almost punched Stephen, and good thing I was able to stop him. We don't have that much money because even I was struggling with my tuition. But Joe was threatening to do something bad if he won't be out of jail. He pressured Stephen into taking him out, and Stephen was already working triple the efforts just to fund his more than $100 bail. I pity Stephen so much. I was so eager to help him, that's why I decided to make a sacrifice. I withdrew my student loan and used it as bail. In result to that, I dropped out of my pre-law bachelor's degree and gave up on my dreams because of his cruel brother. I couldn't stand him tormenting the life of Stephen. I wanted to stop so badly, and it's the only way, hence I did. I bailed him out and he was not even grateful for what I did. But then again, we persevered. We decided to get married, hoping that we will get away from the evil grip of Joe. However, after our wedding, another problem arises. When Stephen's mother's condition worsened, she was rushed to the hospital. She was hospitalized for almost 2 months, and Stephen didn't stop working just to provide and sustain all of their needs. I wanted to help them out. That's why I worked part-time as a clerk in the law firm even though I wasn't able to finish my bachelor's degree. With the little salary that I have, I did my best to contribute for the greater good for everyone. But Joe was still selfish. He got out of jail but got expelled from that prestigious school he was so eager to get into. It felt like all of his brother's efforts were put to waste. And I pity my husband so much because everything he did is for his family and he is not even appreciated and valued just the way he deserves. On top of that, Joe has once again bothered us. He wanted to have an allowance from his brother, but we are even struggling to make ends meet. I have always thought that everything would change once we get married, but here we are again, still entangled in a web of deceit and betrayal, with my brother-in-law Joe at the center. I couldn't wrap my head around how shitty and bad Joe is. I knew for sure that he had always been the black sheep of the family. Stephen had warned me about his troublesome ways, but I had always hoped that things would be different. We were still dating that time, and the trauma that I felt from him was beyond the moon already. But it gets worse now. Unfortunately, Joe seemed to harbor a deep resentment towards me, constantly belittling me and mocking my lack of education. His insults pierced my heart, leaving a lasting scar on my self-esteem. Does he forget that it is because of him I was not able to continue my college education? Because I have to help him get bailed out? He was not even my brother, nor was he even good to me. I did it for the love and concern that I have for my husband. I yearned for acceptance and understanding, but Joe's words only fueled the fire of inadequacy within me. His condescending remarks stung, but I refused to let them define me. This time around, I became his new target. He stopped pestering my husband because it is now my turn to put up with his ugly attitude. But instead of dealing with his insults, I poured my energy into supporting Stephen, being his pillar of strength as we navigate through life together. I could still remember that one time when he insulted me so badly just because I wasn't able to prepare food for him. Am I his maid to begin with? He's such an egoistic man. I stood in the living room, my arms crossed, as Joe loomed over me with a smug expression on his face.
Well, look how it is. The woman who wouldn't even effort to go to college. What a waste you are.
My jaw tightens, my eyes burning with anger, but I remain silent, refusing to give Joe the satisfaction of a response.
I bet Stephen regrets marrying someone like you. No ambition, no intelligence, just a burden on his shoulders.
My hands clenched into fists, my nails digging into my palms as I fought to control my rising anger. I wanted to slap him so badly and remind him of the length of the sacrifices I did for him. And this is all he's gonna pay me?
Face it, Annie, you'll never be more than what you are now, a pathetic, uneducated nobody.
Says the one who got expelled from the university and a criminal. I wanted to shout these words at him just to humble him from his arrogance. But my silence became my shield, my determination growing stronger with every insult thrown my way. Though my anger simmers beneath the surface, I knew that responding with words would only fuel Joe's cruel intentions. He smirked at me and then left me standing there full of rage and anger. Then I went to the kitchen to ease my system, my mind racing with a mixture of anger and frustration. Stephen entered, noticing my agitation.
My love, what's wrong? You seem really upset.
I took a deep breath, struggling to maintain my composure. It's Joe, my love. The things he said, they cut deep. But I won't let his words define me. I won't stoop to his level. My husband reached out, gently taking my hand in his.
I understand how hurtful his words can be. But remember, you are so much more than what he thinks. Your strength and resilience are unmatched. Don't let him diminish your worth.
My anger subsided, replacing by a renewed sense of determination. I squeezed Stephen's hand, drawing strength from his unwavering support. You're right, my love. I won't let Joe's words get to me. I'll prove him wrong through my actions and success. My husband smiled, proud of my resilience, as we stood together ready to face challenges ahead and rise above Joe's hurtful insults. And I am so glad and grateful that my husband never left me and confided in me. One fateful day, our lives took an unexpected turn. As I went home from work, I almost collapsed with the scene that I saw. My husband was lying on the ground with bruises all over his body. I immediately ran towards him and checked him. My hands were shaking as I touched his unconscious body. I looked for his pulse and I heaved a sigh because it is still beating. He was brutally attacked and left paralyzed. It felt like my world shattered as I witnessed the man I loved being reduced to a state of helplessness. The shock of the incident left me numb. I immediately called for the ambulance and he was rushed to the hospital. Amidst the chaos, Joe mysteriously disappeared. It seemed as though he had vanished into thin air. As I stood by Stephen's side grappling with the enormity of the situation, I couldn't help but wonder about Joe's sudden absence. Was it mere coincidence, or did he have a hand in Stephen's assault? The unanswered questions gnawed at me, urging me to dig deeper and uncover the truth. But I knew deep down that he did this. Determined to help Stephen recover, I took on the role of his caregiver, guiding him through the arduous process of rehabilitation. As I supported him physically and emotionally, a spark ignited within me, urging me to seek justice for my husband's suffering. I realized that education was not a prerequisite for fighting for what is right. I also tirelessly looked for Joe. I want to ask him straight into his eyes on why he did that to his brother. He gave up everything for him, and all he did to repay him was just horrible things. With each passing day, as I witnessed Stephen's determination and resilience, my own resolve grew stronger. I wanted to understand the truth behind his attack and ensure that the person responsible faced the consequences of their actions. Driven by a newfound purpose, I decided to pursue my law degree. It's been 5 years since the incident happened, and my husband is now recovering. Balancing my responsibilities as a caregiver and a student proved to be a challenge, but I was determined to overcome any obstacle that came my way. Countless sleepless nights and relentless studying became my companions as I delved into the intricacies of the legal world. As my legal knowledge grew, so did my thirst for the truth. Digging deep into Stephen's attack, I stumbled upon a shocking revelation. It was Joe who had beaten him. There was a man that came to me. He was Joe's friend, and his guilt brought him to serve justice. When he knew about it, me being Joe's sister in law, he handed me a voice recording during the night that Joe beated my husband. Joe was drunk while talking to the guy, narrating him all the details of his actions. He just felt like taking a voice record of it because he knew that Joe must be punished. Anger and disbelief coursed through my veins, but I channeled my emotions into building a strong case against him. Everything fell into place. The time that I received the recording was also the time of my graduation. I took the licensure exam and I became a full-fledged lawyer. With the evidence I had gathered, I summoned Joe to court. The moment of reckoning had arrived, and I stood before the judge and jury, ready to expose the darkness that had plagued our lives for far too long. Joe, smirking in the face of my past humiliations, mocked my pursuit of justice. Little did he know that the tides had turned, and I was armed with the knowledge to expose his dark deeds. As the courtroom proceedings unfolded, I presented evidence and testimonies that laid bare Joe's jealousy and hatred towards Stephen's life. I watched with satisfaction as the color drained from Joe's face when he saw Stephen, no longer paralyzed but walking confidently into the courtroom. Fear gripped Joe's heart as he realized the consequences of his actions. In a final act of defiance, I delivered a closing statement that encapsulated the pain, suffering, and resilience my husband had endured. I painted a vivid picture of Joe's envy and how it had driven him to commit such a heinous act. The weight of my words resonated with the jury, and justice prevailed as Joe was found guilty. With the verdict, a sense of closure washed over me. My husband was finally free from the physical and emotional scars that had plagued him for so long, and I, Annie, the woman who had been insulted for her lack of education, emerged triumphant as a lawyer armed with the power to fight for justice. The journey had been long and arduous, filled with doubts and challenges, but I had persevered. The insults and challenges I faced only fueled my determination to rise above them. My journey from victim to victor had taught me that education is not limited to formal institutions. It can be gained through life experiences and a thirst for knowledge. And in the face of adversity, true strength and justice prevailed. As Stephen and I embraced, tears of relief and happiness streamed down our faces. We had conquered the demons of the past, and together we were ready to embrace a brighter future. The scars would always remain, but they served as a constant reminder of our resilience and the power of standing up for what is right.